Ethan Carter was not the kind of man who usually drove alone on dark country roads. Most nights, his driver handled everything. But this evening, after a long charity gala in the city, Ethan had asked to drive himself. He wanted quiet. He wanted space. Being a CEO of a large company meant endless meetings, endless calls, and endless eyes watching him. Tonight, he just wanted peace, the kind of peace where he could hear his own thoughts. His little daughter, Lily, was already asleep back at the mansion with her nanny. She had called him earlier, asking when he would be home, and her sweet voice had reminded him how much he hated being away. "Tomorrow we will have breakfast together, Daddy," she had said cheerfully. Those words had stayed in his heart the whole evening, making him smile in moments when he felt tired of handshakes and speeches. The road stretched ahead, quiet and empty. The only sound was the hum of the engine and the soft whisper of the night wind against the car. Ethan loosened his tie, rolled down the window a little, and breathed in the fresh air. For the first time all day, he felt his shoulders relax. But then something unusual caught his eye. Far ahead, just at the bend of the lonely road, there was a faint orange glow. At first, Ethan thought it might be streetlights or maybe a farmer burning leaves in the distance. But as he drew closer, the glow became stronger, sharper, and unsteady. His eyes narrowed. It wasn't just light. It was fire. His heart jumped. He pressed harder on the accelerator, his calm evening instantly broken. As he approached, the sight grew clearer. A car was stopped at the side of the road, smoke rising from under its hood. Small flames licked the edges of the engine, glowing brighter by the second. Ethan slowed down, pulled over quickly, and stepped out. The air was filled with the sharp smell of burning metal and fuel. Ethan coughed and waved the smoke away as he hurried closer. His eyes widened when he saw a figure inside the car. Through the dark-tinted glass of the passenger window, a white shape caught his attention. He leaned closer and froze. It was a woman. She was wearing a bridal dress white, shining faintly even through the smoke. Her hair was messy, her face pale, and her head rested weakly against the seat. Ethan's chest tightened as he realized she wasn't just trapped. She was chained. Heavy silver chains were wrapped around her wrists and ankles, binding her to the seat. The ends of the chain were locked tightly to the car frame. Ethan's mind raced in disbelief. Who would do this? Why was she here, alone, in the middle of nowhere? "Hey! Can you hear me?" Ethan shouted through the window, knocking on the glass with his hand. The woman stirred weakly. Her eyes opened just a little, confused and frightened. She coughed, trying to speak, but no words came out. "Hold on." Ethan called again. "I'm going to get you out." The fire was spreading fast. Small bursts of flame popped near the engine, and black smoke poured out thicker and thicker. Ethan knew he had no time to waste. He yanked on the door handle. It was locked. He rushed to the other side and tried again. Locked. Frustration hit him, but he pushed it aside. He grabbed a heavy stone from the side of the road and smashed it against the window. Glass shattered, falling in sharp pieces as smoke rushed out. The woman coughed harder, tears running down her cheeks from the heat and smoke. Ethan reached in, ignoring the small cuts on his arm from the glass. He tried to pull at the chains, but they were tight and strong. Panic touched his heart, but he refused to give in. "Stay with me. Don't close your eyes," Ethan urged. His voice was firm, but inside he was shaking. The woman's lips moved weakly. She whispered something, but the crackle of flames drowned her words. All Ethan could hear was the desperate sound of her breathing. He searched quickly around the car. His eyes landed on a tire iron lying on the ground, maybe left from someone's toolbox. He grabbed it and rushed back to the window. With every bit of strength in his arms, he slammed the iron against the chain links. The first strike did nothing. The second made a dent. On the third, one of the links snapped open. He worked quickly, his heart pounding. The fire was now crawling closer, sparks jumping toward the back seats. He could feel the heat pressing against his skin. Finally, the last link gave way, and the woman collapsed into his arms, freed at last. Without thinking, Ethan pulled her out carefully, shielding her from the broken glass. He carried her away from the burning car, step after step, until they were far enough to breathe clean air again. He laid her gently on the grass by the roadside. The woman coughed hard, her eyes fluttering open. Her voice was faint, like a breeze. "Thank you." Ethan knelt beside her, placing his coat over her trembling body. He brushed her hair gently away from her face. Up close, she looked young, maybe in her mid-20s. Tears had streaked her makeup, and yet there was a quiet strength in her eyes, even as they closed again in exhaustion. Ethan's heart ached. This wasn't just an accident. This was something deeper, darker. He didn't know who she was, or why she was trapped like this, but he knew one thing for certain. He had found her for a reason. And whatever story was chained inside her heart, he would not let it end in fire and smoke. The night was quiet again, except for the crackle of the burning car behind them. Ethan knelt beside the young woman, still breathing fast from the effort of pulling her out. The flames rose higher now, consuming the car fully, sending sparks into the black sky. Ethan kept his eyes on her face, ignoring the fire. She was his focus. The woman coughed, her chest rising and falling in uneven breaths. Ethan pulled out his phone quickly and dialed emergency services. His voice was calm but urgent as he explained the location and the situation. When the operator promised help was on the way, he ended the call and slipped the phone back into his pocket. "Stay with me," he said softly, leaning closer to her. "You're safe now. I won't let anything happen to you." Her eyelids fluttered open. Her eyes looked dazed, filled with confusion. For a moment, she didn't seem to believe him. She glanced toward the fire, fear flashing across her pale face. Ethan gently touched her shoulder, guiding her gaze back to him. "Don't look there. Look at me. You're out. You're safe." She blinked at him, her lips parting as if she wanted to speak. But her voice came out as a weak whisper, broken by coughs. Ethan leaned closer to catch her words. "My dress, wedding," she murmured, then closed her eyes again. Ethan's chest tightened. A bride. On her wedding day? The thought twisted in his mind. He didn't know her story yet, but it was clear that something terrible had led her here. The image of her chained in the burning car stayed heavy in his heart. He looked at her wrists. The skin was red where the metal chains had pressed against it. He carefully held her hands, making sure she felt comfort, not fear. His voice lowered, soft like he spoke to his daughter when she was scared. "You don't have to say anything now. Just rest. Help is coming." The woman took a shaky breath. She opened her eyes just enough to look at him again. There was something searching in her gaze, as if she was trying to decide whether to trust him. And then, slowly, she let her eyes close and her body relax against the grass. Ethan sighed with relief. At least she was still breathing. Minutes felt long, but soon the sound of sirens filled the night air. Flashing red lights grew brighter as an ambulance and a fire truck rushed to the scene. Firefighters quickly moved to put out the burning car, spraying water and foam, while paramedics hurried toward Ethan and the woman. Ethan stood as they arrived, his tall frame straight and steady. "She was trapped inside," he explained firmly, pointing toward the car. "I broke the chains and pulled her out. She's weak, but alive." The paramedics nodded and carefully lifted the woman onto a stretcher. They checked her breathing, gave her oxygen, and covered her with a blanket. One of them turned to Ethan. "You saved her life. A few more minutes and it would have been too late." Ethan simply nodded, his eyes fixed on her as they carried her toward the ambulance. He followed, staying close, as if leaving her side now would feel wrong. Inside the ambulance, the paramedics worked quickly, placing monitors and checking her pulse. Ethan sat quietly in the corner, his gaze never leaving the woman. He didn't even know her name, yet a strange sense of responsibility weighed on him. He had found her. He had pulled her out. Now he couldn't just walk away. As the ambulance drove toward the hospital, Ethan thought of his daughter. Lily was safe at home, probably still asleep, unaware of what her father was doing at this very moment. He pictured her small smile, the way she called him my hero whenever he fixed her broken toys. He wondered how she would react if she knew her father had just saved a real person's life. The woman stirred again, her hand twitching slightly on the stretcher. Ethan leaned forward, his voice gentle. "You're going to be fine. Just hold on." Her eyes opened halfway. She looked around, confused by the strange beeping sounds of the ambulance equipment. Then her gaze landed on Ethan. For a moment, she stared at him as if trying to place his face in her memory. Then, with a shaky breath, she whispered, Why did you help me?" Ethan felt his chest tighten. The question was soft, almost fragile, but it carried so much pain. He answered without hesitation. "Because you needed help. And because no one deserves to be left alone in the dark." Her lips trembled, but she didn't reply. Instead, a single tear slipped down her cheek as her eyes slowly closed again. By the time they reached the hospital, Ethan felt a quiet determination growing inside him. He stepped out of the ambulance with the paramedics and followed them into the emergency ward. Doctors and nurses rushed to take the stretcher inside, asking quick questions. Ethan answered what he could, where he found her, what condition she was in, what he had seen. When they wheeled her away, a nurse told him kindly, "You can wait outside. She's in good hands now." Ethan nodded but didn't leave. He sat in the waiting area, his mind restless. The image of her bridal gown, torn and covered in soot, stayed in his thoughts. The sight of chains on her wrists refused to leave him. Whoever she was, she carried a story full of shadows. And deep down, Ethan knew this wasn't the end of his part in her life. He leaned back in the chair, staring at the ceiling of the quiet hospital corridor. His heart, usually guarded and focused only on his daughter and his business, now carried the weight of a stranger's fate. But somehow, she no longer felt like a stranger. She felt like someone he was meant to find. The hospital room was quiet, filled only with the steady beeping of machines. The young woman lay on the bed, her face peaceful now, her breathing softer. Clean bandages covered her wrists where the chains had bruised her skin. The wedding dress she had been found in was folded neatly on a chair, still smelling faintly of smoke. She looked fragile, yet there was a strength in her expression, as if her heart had survived something heavier than fire. Ethan Carter stood by the window, his hands in his pockets. He had been there for hours, refusing to leave until he knew she was safe. His phone buzzed several times with business calls, but he ignored them. Tonight, nothing in the world mattered more than the girl in that hospital bed. He thought of his daughter, Lily. She would wake up soon, find her father missing, and ask questions. He smiled faintly at the thought of her sleepy voice calling him Daddy. But then his eyes drifted back to the woman, and his smile faded into concern. Who was she? Why had she been chained inside that car? A soft knock came at the door. A nurse stepped in, carrying a clipboard. She checked the woman's vitals and gave Ethan a polite smile. "She's stable now," the nurse said. "But she hasn't spoken much. She seems afraid." Ethan nodded. "Thank you." The nurse hesitated for a moment. "She may open up if someone kind stays near her. Sometimes patients need to feel safe before they talk." When she left, Ethan walked closer to the bed. He pulled up a chair and sat beside her, studying her face. She stirred at his presence, her eyelashes fluttering as her eyes slowly opened. For a moment, confusion clouded her gaze. Then recognition softened her expression. "You, again," she whispered, her voice weak but clearer than before. "Yes," Ethan replied gently. "It's me. You're in the hospital now. You're safe." Her eyes darted around the room nervously, as if checking for hidden dangers. Then she looked back at him, her lips trembling. "Why did you stay?" Ethan leaned forward, his tone calm. "Because I couldn't leave without knowing you're all right. You've been through something, and no one should face that alone." She closed her eyes for a moment, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I don't even know your name." "My name is Ethan," he said softly. "And you are?" She hesitated. Her lips parted, but no words came at first. Then, quietly, she whispered, "Maya." The name lingered in the air like a fragile secret. Ethan repeated it softly, almost like a promise. "Maya." Maya turned her head slightly, staring at the ceiling. "I was supposed to get married today." Her voice cracked on the last word. Ethan's chest tightened. He waited patiently, not pushing her, letting her speak at her own pace. I thought it would be the happiest day of my life," Maya continued slowly. "But instead, everything turned into a nightmare." Her hands clenched the hospital blanket tightly. Ethan noticed the way her knuckles turned white, the fear still alive inside her. He reached out gently, placing his hand over hers. His touch was steady, not demanding, just a quiet assurance that she wasn't alone. "You don't have to tell me everything now," he said kindly. "But know this, I believe you. Whatever happened, you don't deserve it." Maya turned her face toward him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. For the first time since he found her, she seemed to allow herself a small breath of relief. The door creaked open again, and this time a smaller voice filled the room. "Daddy." Ethan turned quickly, surprised. Standing there in her pajamas, holding the nanny's hand, was Lily. Her big eyes widened as she spotted him. "Lily," Ethan said softly, standing to greet her. "I didn't expect you here." The nanny smiled gently. "She wouldn't go back to sleep until she saw you. So I brought her." Ethan crouched down, hugging his daughter close. "I'm here, sweetheart. Everything's fine." But Lily's eyes had already wandered to the bed. She let go of her father's hand and walked toward Maya. Her small footsteps echoed in the quiet room. "Daddy, is she a princess?" Lily asked innocently, pointing at Maya's folded white dress on the chair. Maya blinked in surprise. A small, fragile laugh escaped her lips, the first sound of warmth Ethan had heard from her. "A princess," she repeated softly. Lily nodded seriously. "Only princesses wear dresses like that." Ethan smiled faintly, though his heart ached at the innocence of his daughter's words. Maya, however, seemed touched. For a moment, the fear in her eyes softened, replaced by something gentler. I'm not a princess," Maya whispered. "But thank you." Lily climbed onto the chair beside her bed, her small hand reaching to touch Maya's gently. "Don't be sad. Daddy always says heroes make everything better. He saved you, so now you'll be okay." Maya's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they weren't only from pain. She looked at Ethan, then back at Lily. Something about the child's pure kindness reached a part of her heart she thought had been locked away. Ethan watched silently, his chest heavy with emotion. He hadn't planned for Lily to see Maya so soon, but perhaps this was what Maya needed to feel seen, not as a broken bride, but as someone worthy of kindness. As the night deepened, Maya slowly drifted back to sleep, comforted by the small hand still holding hers. Ethan carried Lily back to him, tucking her against his shoulder. She yawned, whispering sleepily, "She'll be okay now, right, Daddy?" "Yes," Ethan whispered, kissing her forehead. "She'll be okay." But deep in his heart, Ethan knew the truth: Maya's story was only beginning. The chains he had broken on that car were nothing compared to the chains still locked inside her. And somehow, he felt it was now his role to help her break free. Morning sunlight spilled gently through the hospital curtains, painting the room in soft gold. The smell of fresh flowers filled the air. Lily had insisted on bringing a small bouquet from the mansion garden before breakfast. She placed them carefully in a cup by Maya's bedside, proud of her little surprise. Maya slowly opened her eyes, blinking against the light. The first thing she saw was Lily's beaming smile. "Good morning, Princess," the little girl greeted cheerfully, her voice full of warmth. Maya's lips curved into the smallest smile. For the first time in days, she didn't wake up with fear as the first feeling in her chest. Instead, she woke up to kindness. She whispered softly, "Good morning, Lily." Ethan, sitting on the chair nearby with a cup of coffee, looked up from his thoughts. "You're awake. How are you feeling?" Maya nodded faintly, her voice still weak. "Better, thanks to you." Her gaze moved between Ethan and Lily. Something about the way they looked at her made her heart soften. She had felt so abandoned before, but now she sensed a warmth surrounding her. Lily leaned closer, placing her small hand gently on Maya's arm. "Daddy says when you feel sad, you need friends. I can be your friend." Maya's eyes glistened. She couldn't remember the last time someone had spoken to her with such pure honesty. Her voice trembled as she answered, "I would like that very much." The nurse entered, smiling at the scene, and checked Maya's vitals. "You're recovering well," she said. "If you continue improving, you might be discharged soon." Maya nodded, though a wave of worry crossed her face. Discharged? That meant leaving the safe walls of the hospital. Where would she go? What waited for her outside? Her eyes lowered, but Ethan noticed the flicker of fear. When the nurse left, Ethan spoke gently. "You don't need to worry about where to go. If you have nowhere safe, you and Lily can stay with us until you decide." Maya's head shot up, eyes wide. I couldn't. You've already done too much." Ethan shook his head firmly. "You don't owe me anything. You just need a place to feel safe again. And my daughter seems to have already adopted you." At that, Lily giggled, hugging Maya's arm. "Yes. She's part of our family now." Maya's heart swelled, though she didn't know how to answer. Family. The word felt heavy and strange, yet comforting at the same time. She had lost faith in love, but this little girl's innocent acceptance warmed her spirit. 2 days later, Maya left the hospital with Ethan and Lily. Ethan had arranged everything, making sure she had fresh clothes and the best care during her recovery. As they drove toward his mansion, Maya looked out the window, her hands clasped together nervously. She didn't know what kind of life awaited her, but she felt safer beside them than she had in a long time. Ethan's mansion stood tall and elegant, surrounded by green gardens and fountains. To Maya, it looked like something from another world, peaceful, beautiful, far away from her painful memories. Lily proudly gave her a tour, pulling her by the hand from room to room. "This is the library. Daddy says I can pick any book I like. And this is the kitchen, our chef makes the best pancakes. Oh, and here's the garden. You'll love the roses." Maya laughed softly at Lily's excitement. The sound of her own laughter surprised her. It had been so long since it came naturally. She knelt in the garden, touching the soft petals of the roses, breathing in their sweet scent. For a moment, she allowed herself to feel light. That evening, Ethan joined them in the garden. He watched as Maya and Lily sat on the grass, drawing shapes in a notebook. Lily leaned against Maya's shoulder comfortably, as if they had always known each other. "You're good with her," Ethan said, his voice gentle. Maya looked up, startled. "She's easy to love. She's pure." Ethan's eyes softened. "She lost her mother when she was very little. Since then, it's just been the two of us. I try my best, but there are moments I worry she misses the warmth only a woman can give." Maya's chest ached at his honesty. She looked down at Lily, who was now humming happily, and whispered, "She's a wonderful child. You've done well." For a moment, silence stretched between them, not awkward but filled with unspoken understanding. Later that night, as Lily went to bed, she insisted Maya read her a story. Ethan stood quietly by the door as Maya's soft voice carried through the room. She read gently, her tone wrapping the child in comfort. Lily's eyes grew heavy until she finally fell asleep, clutching Maya's hand. When Maya carefully tucked the blanket around Lily and turned to leave, she found Ethan watching. He spoke quietly, almost in awe. "She hasn't let anyone but me read to her since her mother passed." Maya's heart skipped. She lowered her gaze, unsure how to respond. But inside, she felt a warmth she hadn't known in years. As days turned into a week, the bond between them deepened. Maya helped Lily with small school projects, joined her at the piano, and even taught her simple dances in the living room. Ethan often found himself pausing in his busy schedule just to watch them. Something about Maya's presence filled their home with light that had been missing for too long. Yet, when Maya was alone in her room at night, she still struggled with shadows of her past. She would stare at the ceiling, memories of her broken wedding haunting her. She wanted to tell Ethan the truth, but fear held her back. One evening, as Ethan found her in the garden again, sitting quietly under the stars, he sat beside her. "You don't have to hide forever, Maya," he said softly. "Whatever you went through, it doesn't define you. You're stronger than you think." Maya turned to look at him, tears glistening in her eyes. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe she could belong, not as a broken bride, but as herself. And for the first time, sitting beside Ethan under the night sky, she felt hope slowly returning. The days passed quietly in Ethan Carter's mansion, filled with the sound of Lily's laughter and the soft rhythm of routine. For Maya, each sunrise brought a mix of comfort and fear. Comfort, because she felt safe in a way she hadn't for months. Fear, because the shadows of her past still whispered in her mind whenever she was alone. One morning, she sat by the window in her room, staring at the garden below. Lily was chasing butterflies, her laughter echoing in the fresh air. Ethan was nearby, speaking on the phone, his face serious but calm. From above, Maya watched them together, and her heart tugged in two directions. Part of her longed to belong, to join them fully, to step into the warmth of their small family. But another part warned her not to dream too much. She reminded herself that she was only a guest, a broken woman who had stumbled into their lives by accident. When she came down for breakfast, Lily ran to her with excitement. "Maya, today we're baking cookies. You have to help me." Maya smiled despite her doubts. "Cookies? Well, I suppose I can try." In the kitchen, flour dusted Lily's nose as she stirred the bowl with all her strength. Maya laughed, taking the spoon gently from her small hands. "Let me help before we have flour on the ceiling." Ethan entered quietly, watching the scene. Maya noticed his eyes lingering on her, and for a moment, she felt her cheeks grow warm. There was something in his gaze, gentle, steady, almost protective. "You look happy," Ethan said softly, stepping closer. Maya glanced down at the dough. "It feels nice. Like home." The words slipped out before she could stop them. She froze, unsure if she had said too much. Ethan, however, only smiled faintly. "That's what I want this house to feel like for Lily, and for anyone who walks through its doors." Later, while the cookies baked, Maya sat with Lily in the library. Lily proudly showed her a drawing of the three of them, Daddy, Maya, and herself, standing under a big sun. Above their heads, she had written one word in bright colors: family. Maya's chest tightened. She forced a smile, but her eyes grew wet. That's beautiful, Lily. That night, when Maya was alone in her room, she sat on the bed holding the drawing. Her heart ached with longing. She wanted to believe she could be part of that picture, that she could deserve it. But the memory of her wedding day, the chains, the fire, the betrayal rose in her mind like smoke, choking her hope. What if I bring danger into their lives? What if I'm too broken to belong? The next day, Ethan found her sitting quietly in the garden. He noticed the tiredness in her eyes. You've been distant today, he said gently. Maya hesitated before speaking. Ethan, why are you doing all this? I don't understand. You've already given me more than I deserve. Ethan sat beside her, his gaze firm but kind. Maya, you deserve safety. You deserve peace. I didn't save you from that car just to let you feel worthless now. She looked at him, tears forming. But I don't know how to be part of this. You and Lily, you're good. You have a life. I don't belong in it. Ethan shook his head. You're wrong. Belonging isn't about being perfect. It's about being needed, being loved. Lily already sees you as part of us. And he paused, searching for words. I see someone stronger than she believes herself to be. Maya's lips trembled. His words touched her deeply, but fear still clung tightly around her heart. That evening, after Lily went to bed, Maya wandered into the music room. A piano stood in the corner, shining under the soft light. She sat before it, her fingers brushing the keys. Slowly, she played a gentle melody, one she remembered from childhood. Ethan entered quietly, listening. The soft notes filled the room like whispers of hope. When she finished, he applauded softly. That was beautiful. Maya smiled faintly. I used to play when I was little. Music was my escape. Ethan stepped closer. Maybe it can be your healing now. The words settled in her heart like a seed of hope. For the first time, she began to wonder if healing was possible, not by forgetting her past, but by building something new in the present. But doubt still lingered. That night, as she lay in bed, she whispered to herself, what if I can't stay? What if this isn't really mine? The sound of footsteps outside made her sit up. Ethan had stopped at her door. He didn't enter, but his voice came softly through the wood. Maya, you don't have to decide everything now. Just give yourself time. Sometimes hope grows slowly, but it grows. Her eyes filled with tears. She pressed her hand against the door, as if reaching toward his unseen presence. For the first time, her heart felt both heavy and light at the same time. Hope and doubt stood side by side within her, but maybe, just maybe, hope was starting to win. The morning sun rose softly over the Carter mansion, spreading golden light across the garden. Maya stood at the balcony, her hands resting on the railing as she breathed in the fresh air. Something inside her felt different that day. The heaviness she usually carried seemed lighter, as if the quiet words Ethan had spoken outside her door were still holding her heart. Down below, she saw Lily running across the grass, her dress fluttering like wings. Maya! Come play with me, she shouted with joy. Maya hesitated at first. She wasn't used to letting herself enjoy simple things like play. But Lily's laughter was too inviting, too full of life. Slowly, she walked down the stairs and joined her in the garden. They spent the morning weaving flowers into crowns, chasing each other, and lying on the grass while pointing at clouds. Lily giggled endlessly, and for once, Maya allowed herself to laugh too. It was a sound she hadn't heard from herself in a very long time. From the terrace, Ethan watched them, his eyes warm with pride. He noticed how Maya's smile no longer looked forced. For the first time since she arrived, she seemed alive. Later that afternoon, Ethan invited Maya for a walk around the estate. They strolled side by side through the quiet paths, the air filled with birdsong. For a long time, neither spoke, until Ethan finally broke the silence. "Maya," he said gently, "you've been through so much. But you're stronger than you know. I can see it every day." Maya lowered her eyes. "Strong? Sometimes I feel like I'm still chained, even though I'm free." Ethan stopped walking and turned to face her. "Chains don't only exist outside. Sometimes they live inside our hearts. But you have the power to break them." His words struck something deep within her. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that she could be more than her pain. That evening, Lily had a small recital at her school. It was the first time Maya agreed to join them outside the safety of the mansion. As they arrived at the school auditorium, Maya felt nervous. She was afraid of being surrounded by strangers, afraid of eyes watching her. But Ethan's steady presence beside her gave her courage. Inside, Lily performed beautifully on stage, her small voice singing with innocence and joy. Maya clapped until her hands hurt, her heart swelling with pride as if Lily were her own child. When the recital ended, Ethan introduced Maya to some of the other parents. Maya smiled politely, though her heart pounded. Yet something unexpected happened. Nobody questioned her past, nobody looked at her with judgment. They simply welcomed her kindly, as if she belonged there. On the way home, Maya sat quietly in the car, lost in thought. "It felt normal," she whispered. "Just sitting there, watching her sing. For a moment, I forgot everything else." Ethan glanced at her with a gentle smile. "That's what life is meant to feel like. Normal, peaceful, filled with little joys." That night, after Lily went to bed, Ethan found Maya once again at the piano. She was playing the same melody as before, but this time her notes were stronger, clearer. "You're healing," Ethan said softly, leaning against the doorway. Maya looked up, her eyes glistening. "Am I? Sometimes I still feel afraid. Like one wrong step and everything will fall apart again." Ethan walked closer, his voice calm. "Fear doesn't disappear overnight. But healing isn't about never being afraid. It's about moving forward even when you are." Her heart trembled at his words. She realized he was right. Healing wasn't a straight path, it was made of steps, small ones, but each step mattered. The next day, Maya decided to do something she hadn't done in months. She went into town. She wanted to try living outside her shadows. Ethan offered to come with her, but she shook her head. "I need to do this alone," she said softly. Walking through the small town, she felt her heartbeat quicken. Every sound seemed louder, every face too close. But then she noticed the normal life around her: children laughing, people buying flowers, neighbors greeting each other warmly. The world wasn't as frightening as her mind had made it. At a small cafe, she ordered tea and sat quietly by the window. The sunlight touched her face, and for the first time in years, she felt like an ordinary person. No past, no chains, no fear, just a woman sipping tea, living in the present. When she returned to the mansion, Ethan was waiting at the gate. "How was it?" he asked with a hopeful smile. Maya's lips curved into a soft smile. "I was afraid at first, but then I realized I was okay. I can do this. Maybe I really can heal." Ethan's eyes softened with pride. "I knew you could." That evening, Lily insisted on showing Maya another drawing. This time, it wasn't just the three of them, it was the three of them holding hands inside a heart. Maya felt tears roll down her cheeks as she hugged Lily close. "You have no idea how much this means to me," she whispered. In that moment, Maya understood something. She didn't have to erase her past to build her future. She didn't have to be perfect to be loved. She only had to allow herself to live, step by step, with hope. That night, as she lay in bed, she whispered softly to herself, "I'm ready for a new chapter." And for the first time, she truly believed it. Morning sunlight filtered through the mansion windows, filling the rooms with warmth. The house felt alive with soft laughter and quiet energy. For Maya, it was a day she had not imagined for months, a day without fear, without shadows chasing her, a day where hope had finally taken root. Lily bounced into the room, her small feet padding across the floor. "Maya! Wake up! Today we're going to the park. Daddy says we can have a picnic." Maya smiled, stretching as she rose from the bed. She felt a lightness she hadn't felt in a long time, a feeling that made her heart lift with simple joy. "All right, Lily. Let's get ready." Downstairs, Ethan was preparing the picnic basket, carefully packing sandwiches, juice, and fresh fruit. When Maya entered the kitchen, he looked up and smiled. "Ready for an adventure?" Maya nodded, feeling a warmth in her chest she hadn't expected. "Yes. I think I'm ready." The three of them drove to the park, the sunlight glinting off the leaves and creating a golden glow around them. Lily ran ahead, her laughter ringing through the air, while Ethan and Maya followed slowly, enjoying the peaceful moment. They found a quiet spot under a large oak tree, its branches wide and protective. Ethan spread the blanket, while Maya helped Lily unpack the basket. It was simple, ordinary, yet it felt like a celebration of life itself. As they sat together, sharing sandwiches and fruit, Maya looked around at the serene park. Children played nearby, couples walked hand in hand, and families laughed together. For the first time, she realized she could belong here, not just in the mansion, but in the world outside. Lily, with crumbs on her face, looked up at Maya and said, "You're my favorite princess, you know." Maya laughed softly, brushing a strand of hair from Lily's forehead. "And you're my favorite little friend." Ethan watched them, a gentle smile on his face. He felt a deep sense of peace. The house that once felt quiet and lonely was now filled with life and warmth because of Maya. She had brought a new light into their world, just as they had given her a place to heal. After lunch, they played games in the park. Ethan pushed Lily on the swing while Maya ran alongside, cheering and laughing. The sound of their joy carried across the park, blending with the rustling leaves and soft breeze. Maya felt her heart open wider with each passing moment, her fears melting into the happiness surrounding her. Later, as the sun began to set, they sat on the blanket, watching the sky turn shades of pink and gold. Lily rested her head on Maya's lap, tired but content. Maya stroked her hair gently, feeling a sense of belonging she had never imagined. Ethan sat close, his arm around Maya's shoulders. He spoke softly, almost as if sharing a secret. "You've come a long way, Maya. From that terrible night to now, you've shown incredible courage." Maya looked at him, her eyes shining. "I couldn't have done it alone. You, and Lily, you gave me a reason to believe in something better." Ethan's hand squeezed hers gently. "And you gave us something too. You brought hope back into our lives. You belong with us, Maya. Not just for now, but always." Tears filled Maya's eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming feeling of being accepted and loved. She realized that the chains that once bound her, both literal and emotional, had finally been broken. She was free to live, to hope, to love again. Lily stirred, looking up at them with sleepy eyes. "Can we have cookies when we get home?" Maya laughed softly, brushing Lily's hair back. "Of course. We'll make the best cookies ever." Ethan smiled at the exchange, his heart full. He watched Maya tuck Lily gently into the blanket and lift her onto his lap for the drive back home. For a moment, the past seemed distant, replaced by the promise of a bright future. That evening, back at the mansion, the three of them settled in the living room. Maya read a story to Lily while Ethan sipped his tea, watching them quietly. The fire in the hearth crackled softly, casting a warm glow across their faces. Maya's voice carried softly, weaving magic into the words of the story. Lily's eyelids grew heavy, and soon she drifted off to sleep, snuggled comfortably in Maya's arms. When Lily was asleep, Maya looked up at Ethan. "I think I'm finally ready to live fully again," she whispered. Ethan nodded, his expression gentle and proud. "And we'll be with you every step of the way." Maya smiled, feeling a sense of peace that had once seemed impossible. She had survived the fire, the chains, and the fear. But now, she had also found something precious, a place to belong, a family to love, and hope for a brighter tomorrow. As she looked around the room, seeing Lily sleeping safely and Ethan watching her with quiet care, Maya realized that life could be beautiful again. She didn't need to be afraid. She didn't need to hide. She was free, loved, and finally home. That night, as the stars twinkled outside the mansion, Maya whispered softly to herself, "This is just the beginning." And for the first time in a long while, her heart was filled with certainty, warmth, and joy. The chains of the past were gone, replaced by love, family, and hope. And nothing could ever take that away.